So dash refers to the variety of living organisms in a specific area. So it is, that means what the question here is, that what refers, that means when you have different kinds of organisms in a specific area, it means biodiversity. So biodiversity means where you have variety of organisms are present but in a specific area. Then second one, dash and dash exert pressure on the walls of their containers. So usually the liquids and the gases, yes, the liquids and the gases are the one which exert lot of pressure on the walls of their containers. So if you have water in your bottle, so the liquid, that is water, it exerts its pressure on the walls of your bottle there. Yes, same way the gases also. Third one, friction depends on the nature of dash in contact. So we know the friction occurs when two surfaces are coming in contact with each other. Yes, when two surfaces are coming in contact with each other, the friction is being created. So it again, this friction depends on the nature of the surface. So if the surface, both the surfaces are very smooth, then the amount of friction is very less. If the surfaces are very rough, then they will be having so many irregularities. As a result, there will be more friction. So friction basically depends on what, the surface that they are in contact with. Sliding friction is smaller than the static friction. So there are two types of frictions, that is sliding friction and static friction. In case of sliding friction, the object is already in motion. So the amount of friction created in there is very less. Yeah, it is very less there. But when compared to the static friction, the object will be in the rest position. So as the object is in rest position, it requires more force. As the result of that, there will be lot of friction, more friction is created. Sound travels through dash and dash medium. So sound travels through liquid. Yes, it is going to travel in the liquid and gas medium. It is going to travel in liquid and gas medium. So coming to the next one, that is match the following. So in match the following, A part is will be given, B part will be given. So what you need to do is you have to write down the answers in front, the right answer, the correct answers in front of each of the A1s in the here or this side. So I have just marked here them. So citrus canker, it is a bacteria. Citrus canker is what? It is a bacteria. So citrus canker is a disease which is found in the plants. Yes, the citrus plant, it is being found in the citrus plant. So PET, so PET is polyethylene. Okay, so here it is a type of PET. It is made up of a petrochemical. That means all your synthetic fibers, most of the synthetic fibers, they are like plastics, they are formed of petrochemicals. They are formed by petrochemicals. Now we are talking about the mercury here. Yes, mercury. So mercury you do find in where? In the thermometer. You find it in where? In the thermometers. Then bitumen. Bitumen is a kind of petroleum product which is used in road surfing. It is used in road surfing. Flora and fauna. Flora means the different variety of the plants. Yes. So here we have is jamun. Okay, so it is a kind of plant which is found in only specific places. All right. So let's move on to the question answers part. So answer the following in a sentence. That means you have to just write the answer in one sentence, or you just have to give one word there. Okay. Give examples which indicate that nylon fibers are very strong. So nylon is a synthetic fiber. Yes. So it is being synthesized there. It is not occurring naturally. Okay, so nylon is used in making parachutes and ropes of the rock climbing. So where all this nylon is used in production of your parachutes and also in the ropes for which are used for rock climbing. So these two examples show that nylon fibers are very strong here. So this is the answer. What happens when metals react with acids? So when metals are going to react with acid, they are going to form the metal salts there. They are going to form what? The metal salts, and at the same time the hydrogen gas is liberated. They are going to produce the hydrogen gas also. So when the metal reacts with an acid, it produces, basically any metal, it forms what? The metal salt, and at the same time hydrogen gas, like a pop-up sound you will be able to hear when the metals will be reacting with the acids. Name any two fossil fuels. Any two fossil fuels are your coal and petroleum products. All the petroleum products and coal, they are what? The examples for fossil fuels. What is gravitational force? What do you mean by gravitational force? So this particularly the gravitational force, it is an attractive force which is being exerted by earth on all objects, and it is also called as gravity. So when we are talking about gravitational force, the gravitational force is not only exerted by earth, but it is being exerted by each and every object which is present on this planet, which is present on this planet there. What are lubricants? What are lubricants? So lubricants are the substances which reduces the friction. So lubricants are the substances which are going to reduce the friction there. So when uh, you can find this in case of your vehicles, you will be applying the oils there, right? So why? To reduce the friction. When two surfaces are coming in contact with each other, there is generation of friction. To reduce, as a friction is generated, there will be heat formation. So to reduce that, the lubricants are being used there. What is contact force? So contact force is a form of force there. So when the force is exerted when two objects come in contact, that means when two objects are coming in contact with each other, yes, you do apply the force there. That means if you touch a book or if you lift the book there, that means your hand is coming in contact with the book there. So that means two objects, when they are coming in contact with each other, it is called as what? The contact force. It is called as the contact force. So moving on to the next one here. Yes, what is oscillation? So the next question here is asked is, what is oscillation? The movement of the object from one point to another point in a periodic time is called as oscillation. That means the movement of an object from one position to the other position in a particular timing, in a specific time, is called as what? The oscillation. It is called as the oscillation. Moving on to the eighth question. What is electrostatic force? What do you mean by electrostatic force? The force which is being exerted by the charged particles is called as what? Electrostatic force. That means you have two charged particles. You do have two charged particles. When they come in contact with each other, it is called as the electrostatic force. It is called as what? Electrostatic force. What is the SI unit of frequency? So how do you measure the frequency? So frequency is measured in hertz. Yes, it is measured in what? Hertz there, hertz. So this is how you represent this. What is vibration? The last question in 1 mark questions is, what is vibration? The back and forth motion of an object is called as vibration. That means just back and forth movement of any object when you find, that is nothing but the vibration. It is considered as what? The vibration. All right, now let's go with the next fourth main, that is you need to answer these questions in two sentences. Yes, you have been given the choice there. You have to write any five questions there. You need to answer any five questions. So now let's start with the first question here. What are pathogens? Give two examples. So what are pathogens? Simple. So pathogens, they are nothing but the microorganisms which are causing very harmful diseases in human beings. Okay, so these are the microorganisms which are causing harmful diseases in human beings. They are called as what? Pathogens. So when we are talking about microorganisms, they can be your bacteria, protozoa, viruses, any of them. So I have given example for them are bacteria and protozoa. So see, in case of 2 marks question, this is very easy. You just have to write the correct answer definition there, and if the examples are given, give the correct examples there. Moving on to the next question. What is manure? Write one advantage of it. So what do you mean by manure? So when in the agricultural field, with the during the crop production, manure is very important. So this manure, it is a substance which is obtained by the decomposition of cattle dung and plant residue. So manure, it is very organic substance, and it is being obtained by decomposition of cattle dung and plant residues. So what is the advantage of this manure in case of crop production? So it enhances the water holding capacity of the soil. Yes, so if you are using the fertilizers, your soil, it is, as the fertilizers are chemicals, they are going to spoil the soil there. But when we are talking about the manure, yes, it is organic because it is formed from the decomposition of the cattle dung and plant residues. So this manure, it enhances water holding capacity of the soil there. What are weedicides? Give an example. So what are these weedicides? So weedicides are the chemicals. These are a type of, it's a chemical which is being used to destroy the weeds. That means the unwanted plants that are growing along with your crop. So when these weeds are growing along with your crop, that means they are also taking up the nutrition which actually required by the crop which you are growing. So if these weeds are growing along with your crop, the crop will be damaged. That means it won't get the sufficient amount of nutrient that it requires. So to avoid these weeds, we are sprinkling the weedicides. So weedicides are the chemicals that actually destroy the weeds which will be growing along with your crop. So 2,4-D is an example for weedicide. 2,4-D is an example for weedicide there. Explain the nature of coke. Yes, coke is what? A fossil. It's a kind of fuel, fossil fuel. Okay, so how this coke is, where all it is being used? For 2 mark question, you need to answer in that way. So coke is tough. It is very tough and porous. It is having many pores, and black substance. It is a black, porous and tough substance. It is an almost pure form of carbon. So coke is almost a pure form of carbon. So this coke is used in the manufacturing of steel and in an extraction of the many different kind of metals. So it is also used in the extraction of different kind of metals there, as it is a pure form of carbon. So this is used in the extraction of different metals there from their metal ores. What is migration? Give example for it. So migration. So migration, it is a kind of phenomena. That means the movement of a particular type of species from their origin. That means from the habitat, their own habitat, to some other habitat. That means movement of these species from one place to the other for a particular time of period in every year. So migration is nothing but movement of these species from one place to the other in particular time period. Yes, in that particular time period only they will moving from one place to the other in every year. It is not just for 1 year. Every year, when that particular that time period is there, they'll be moving from one place to the other place. For best example, the birds from the North Pole, they'll be migrating in the winter season to the equator region, because as we know, in the both the poles the temperature is very less. So these birds, they cannot sustain so much cold. It is minus degrees there. So to avoid and keep themselves warm, they at those particular winter season, they'll be moving towards the equator region. There they'll be moving to the equator region. What are species? First question. And what are endemic species? First you need to explain what are species, and then you need to explain what are endemic species. Okay. So species are group of population which are capable of interbreeding. That means species are what? These are group of populations which are capable of interbreeding. That means they are able to reproduce their own. Yes, their young ones. They are able to produce their young ones. So next that we have here is the endemic species. What are endemic species? These are the species of plants or animals which are exclusively found in a particular area only. That means you do find these kind of species in a only specific area. You can't find them everywhere on this earth. They are only specific to that particular region there. They are very specific to that region. Okay, so there are 6 questions. Out of these 6 questions, you need to write any 5 there. Any 5 questions are to be answered. Alright, so moving on to the 5th main, that is answer in 3 sentences. Answer the following questions in 3 sentences. So each question here carries 3 marks there. So you'll be having 4 questions. So you need to write them very clearly. So explain how fertilizers are different from manure. So this is a very direct question. That means you need to list the difference between the fertilizers and the manure. So fertilizer is a man-made organic salt. So fertilizer is what? It is a man-made inorganic salt. But whereas manure, it is a natural substance obtained by the decomposition of cattle dung and plant residue. So basic difference is fertilizers are man-made, whereas manure is naturally. Yes, it is natural. So these fertilizers you do have to prepare in the factories, but manure do not require any kind of specific factories as such. They just grow, are being prepared in the fields itself. So fertilizers, they do not provide any kind of humus to the soil. The humus which is being required by the soil very much, it is not being provided by these fertilizers. But manures are the one which provide lot of humus to the soil. They are going to provide lot of humus to the soil. Fertilizers are very rich in plant nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So fertilizers are very rich in plant nutrients, as it is a chemical base. So you will be having nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. But manures, they are not so rich in all these nutrients when compared to the fertilizers, but yet they are very safe one. They are very safe one. Moving on to the second question here. Explain the reaction of copper with oxygen with a chemical reaction. So you need to write down explain how copper reacts with oxygen with a chemical reaction. So when copper reacts with moist air for a long time, so when we are talking here moist air, it will be having what? Water and oxygen. So it will be having what? Both water and oxygen. Yes, that is your moist air. So when copper reacts with moist air for a long time, it will produce a green coating on itself. It will be having a green color coating. So this green color coating, it is a mixture of your carbon hydroxide as well as copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. So you can see here the chemical way. Yes, you have two copper molecules, then you have one hydrogen, your water molecule and oxygen. So when it is reacts there, you have copper hydroxide. Yes, this is your copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. The copper carbonate is also being formed there. Yes, so when oxygen reacts with your copper, it is going to form the copper hydroxide and copper carbonate. Moving on to the third question. Explain why sliding friction is less than static friction. So you need to explain why this sliding friction is actually very less compared to your static friction. So sliding friction is less than static friction because it comes into play once the body has started. So you can find this sliding friction when that particular body or the object is in movement. Yes, it is already in movement, or it is started to slide there. To make the body slide, more force is required. So if that particular body or the object, if it is just in a rest position, so to make it to slide from the rest position, it requires more force. To why it requires more force? As it is in rest position, there will be lot of irregularities in the surface of the body. So when you apply the force, it is required more. When the more force is required, there is lot of friction there. So therefore sliding friction is less when compared to your static friction. What is the difference in conservation of renewable and non-renewable resources? So what is the main difference? Why you need to conserve? There is a different way for conserving the renewable and non-renewable resources. Conserving renewable resources is to utilize them in such a way that nature is able to replenish them. So basic thing is, see the word itself says renewable and non-renewable resources. So the renewable means which can be replenished there. So, but these non-renewable, that means the nature cannot replenish them back into the environment or in the nature. You can't get them back. So when we are using these non-renewable resources, we need to be more careful, because to form those non-renewable resources, it takes thousands of years. So if you use them carelessly, there is a chance of them to get finished very soon there. Alright, so these were the 4 questions which each one carrying 3 marks there. So moving on to the 6th main, answer in 4 to 5 sentences. So in case of 6th main, you have 2 4 marks questions. There is no choice for you. You have to write them. Yes. So each will be carrying 4 marks. First question, draw the nitrogen cycle and explain it. So this is your nitrogen cycle and you need to explain it. So simple way, first draw the nitrogen cycle, then start from there. First one, whenever you have the atmospheric nitrogen, so this particular nitrogen is required by the plants. Yes, in atmosphere you have nitrogen in abundance, that is almost 70% of in atmosphere we have nitrogen. But this atmospheric nitrogen, the form in which it is present in the atmosphere, it cannot be taken up by the plants. So the plants have to get this particular nitrogen so that it can utilize it. So for this reason, you have some called as the nitrogen fixing bacteria. That means these bacteria, they will be present in the soil. Okay, so these bacteria, they have the capacity or the ability to turn the atmospheric nitrogen into available suitable form in the soil for the plants. Okay, so what happens is, so these nitrogen fixing bacteria fix the atmospheric nitrogen, then they are going to form the nitrogenous compound in the soil, which are being taken up by the plants there. Okay, so sometimes what happens, this when the soil have this nitrogenous compound and which has been taken up by the plant. Okay, so those plants are being again eaten by your animals there. So again the excretes from these animals also will be having the nitrogenous weight, and the death of these animals also, the decomposition of the plants and animals, they also again generate the nitrogenous compounds in the soil. So this is one set of bacteria which are able to form the atmospheric nitrogen into suitable form in the soil. There are one more set of bacteria which have the ability to turn this nitrogenous compound from the soil into atmospheric nitrogen. That means again taking this nitrogenous compound to gaseous form in the atmosphere. So this is how the nitrogen cycle is being completed. So moving on to the second question, describe the following with examples. First one is thermosetting plastic and second one is thermoplastic. So let's go with the thermosetting plastics. So these thermosetting plastics are the plastics which can be molded only once. Yes. So these are the plastic materials which can be molded only once and they cannot be softened. Yes, they cannot be softened by heating. They cannot be softened by heating. So bakelite and melamine are the examples of these thermosetting plastics. So bakelite. So what is this bakelite? So bakelite is a poor conductor of heat and electricity. So bakelite is an example for thermosetting plastics. That means if you heat them, best example is your pressure cooker. The handles of your pressure cooker, they are made up of bakelite. So you would have imagined you are keeping on the stove for so long time, but if you just take your plastic bags, any plastic bag near the fire, yes, they are going to change the shape there, but that particular handle, it is not going to change its shape because it is what poor conductor of heat and electricity is. It is a poor conductor of heat and electricity. It is also used in what? Fire making. Yes, it is also used in fire making, electrical switches, handles of various utensils. So it is basically, as it is a poor conductor of heat and electricity, it is used in the materials where those materials are going to come in contact with your electrical energy or any kind of heat energy there. So melanine is also again a different kind, the same type of, that means example for thermosetting plastic. But here this melamine is a versatile material. Okay, it resists fire and can tolerate heat better than any other plastics. So melamine is a very versatile material. That means it is used almost everywhere. Okay, so it is used in the making floor tiles, kitchen materials, fabrics, some kind of fabrics which are fire resistant there. So there all this is being used. Okay, so this is how the thermosetting plastics are. So coming to next one, that is thermoplastic. What are these thermoplastics? So these are the plastics which get deformed easily on heating and can be bent easily. So they are the thermoplastics are exactly reverse of your thermosetting plastics. So these are the plastics which can deform themselves. That means they can change their shape easily when they are being heated. Okay, so these are called as what? Thermoplastics. So example we have is polythene and PVCs. Okay, polythene and PVCs are the one which are being used for making toys, homes and various types of containers. Yes, for making different kind of plastic containers. That means these you can reuse them very easily there. All right. Okay, so this is the complete SA-1 sample question paper, children. So this is how you need to write clearly, yes, in the answer sheet. Okay, fine. All right. So a last instruction I would like to give: whenever you are writing a science or math subject, whenever you are going to draw any figure, please draw with the figure. You have to draw the figure with the pencil itself, only pencil. There should not be any kind of pen work there, even to write the numbers or anything. Please don't use pen, use only pencils. All right, thank you.